call it payback for the second time this week. Egyptian police storming an Islamist stronghold on the outskirts of Cairo. This time, Kardassa, where 11 officers were murdered and mutilated last month. Revenge for last month's revenge attacks. Revenge attacks after the crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood. One police general has been killed in the gunfire exchanges. Meanwhile, authorities continue to round up supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi. Muslim Brotherhood spokesperson Jihad Haddad arrested Tuesday in Cairo on suspicion of incitement to violence. The Brotherhood's not been banned, at least not yet, but it's effectively been driven underground. Makeshift bombs diffused this Thursday on the Cairo metro, a string of attacks in the Sinai Desert, a reported attempt on the interior minister's life. Is Egypt now braced for a radicalization all around? Supporters encouraging Army Chief Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to run for president. Has the old guard effectively regained the upper hand for good? Today in the France 24 debate, Egypt, the crackdown. And with us to talk about it, we're going to be joined in a moment from Cairo by risk consultant Hisham ASSEM. With us here in the studio, Moyad HARB, an activist who denounces the coup that took place,
Thank you for having us.
In Egypt, and who defends the Muslim Brotherhood stance. We've often spoken about Algeria in the early 90s when discussing the situation in Egypt. In Algeria in the early 90s, where the suspension of elections led to a decade of civil war. With us, two gentlemen who know that scenario well. Adel RIAME of France's prestigious EHESS Social Sciences Institute. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
And former U.S. diplomat William Jordan. Thank you for being back with us here in the France 24 debate. The France 24 debate, where you can always join the conversation on Facebook and on Twitter. Our hashtag F24debate. Now, it's not just on the outskirts of Cairo. Police moving in the last few days in at least 3 locations. We have more on the story now from Catherine Viet.
Searching door to door as police seek to restore order in Kardassa. There has been little sign of state authority in the village since August 14th. When its police station was hit with rocket-propelled grenades and torched, killing at least 11 police officers. Military and police vehicles quickly entered the town, using tear gas to help their advance. Sporadic gunfire has rung out, with police setting up barricades around the outskirts. Authorities say they've arrested several men and seized guns and other weapons. A daytime curfew has been imposed after a dawn raid turned deadly, leaving a senior security officer killed in the crossfire. Some residents say they're worried about their safety.
My children and I are leaving because we will not be safe when the thugs come and hide in the pits behind our house. So we're going to stay with some relatives for a couple of days until everything goes back to normal.
The crackdown is part of a wider effort to restore order over areas loyal to ousted President Mohamed Morsi. Unrest between Islamists and security forces has surged since Morsi was forced out of office in July.
All right, we can go to Cairo now and join correspondent Ashraf KHALIL. Ashraf, first of all, is there a sign that the skirmishes are over at this point in that neighborhood that's quite near the pyramids?
Yes, the security forces here are definitely they claim to be in a sort of mop-up stage of things. There have been a number of arrests, and I think the police are acting like they're largely done with securing the area. But as the resident said in the earlier report, I think there's probably a fairly common belief among the residents of that neighborhood that it's probably not over yet, or at least a wait and see. There's a concern that after the police withdraw, the militants will simply, reassume their previous positions after having melted away and gone into hiding. So it's going to be a question of a couple of days whether or not government control sustains itself in Kardassa.
And Ashraf, Do we have any idea exactly who are these Islamist militants who've been exchanging gunfire? Are they members of the Muslim Brotherhood? Are they from groups that are more hardline?
We don't have much information on who they are politically and who they're affiliated with. And that's probably one of the more concerning aspects of this, is the possibility that this is widening well beyond brotherhood command and control. If the scenario was that the Muslim Brotherhood was coordinating all these attacks, then there's almost a silver lining there, because it gives you someone to negotiate with, and a possibility that the Brotherhood could then rescind their order if they were appeased somehow. But if it's out of the Brotherhood's control, then it's hard to even know who to negotiate with and how to bring down the temperature a little bit. If this is indeed spread out to where you have individual cells or individual groups of actors simply acting on their own.
And one quick final question for you, Ashraf. Do you expect, because the Brotherhood itself has not been banned, you're talking about how this could well be beyond the Muslim Brotherhood's commands and control. If the Brotherhood is banned, will that change anything further? Will the situation in that respect deteriorate further?
I'm actually not sure that overtly, legally banning the Brotherhood would change the situation in the short term. I mean, the government is dealing with them as a banned organization and has been for several months. Senior leaders are being round up and charged, mid-level cadres. I mean, at this point, being a member of the Muslim Brotherhood is a de facto criminal act. So right now, they might as well be banned. But the issue of a ban has very strong medium and long-term implications, in that if the organization is banned, then it becomes impossible for them to really return in any way to the political sphere. Whereas if they remain a legally sanctioned or legally permitted organization, then that at least offers them the carrot, offers them the incentive that they could return to normal political life. But in the short term, a ban on the Brotherhood wouldn't change a thing about their daily existence and about the way the government is dealing with them.
Ashraf KHALIL, many thanks for that update from Cairo. I want to get the reaction to what you've said there from our panel. I'll start with you, William Jordan. The international community has tread lightly. Here you're hearing the correspondent saying, well, what we have right now is a situation where if you want to tone it down, who do you talk to?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I think the international community's message has been very clear to the Egyptian regime that it needs to move beyond the sort of moment of national salvation into some kind of moment of national reconciliation, or at least a dialogue among the political entities, in order to avert moving past what I would call a point of no return. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about it, but when one conjures up the image of Algeria and what happened there 20 years ago, there was very clearly a moment when the army and the Islamic Salvation Front passed a point of no return in terms of there being any real possibility of reconciliation. Right. And that's where we're not yet there in Egypt, but that's the whole point about the international community holding its breath and waiting for the regime to respond to these persistent appeals for some kind of national dialogue.
All right, not yet at the point of no return. Moyad, HARB, do you agree?
Not yet, only because Egyptian opposition today, just to rectify, I'm not a Muslim Brotherhood supporter. I am an anti-coup.
Anti-coup.
Okay. Today I agree we are sharing the same side because Muslim Brotherhood are also an anti-coup. We are still not in a dead end, but clearly if we do continue, if the army continues to avoid the how do we call it, the dialogue, we won't find any solution. Today, clearly the army is playing its game as it was the only power in Egypt.
Okay, but on the issue of Cardassa, where this
Violence will also remain because
in that Kardasa neighborhood
yes.
of Cairo,
yes.
the army or the police had, in this case, the police had to move in, right? Because there was no longer law and order there. The police station had been burned. The police couldn't even. It was a no-go zone for them. They had to do something.
I totally agree with you. The only problem is that you don't judge a tree by its leaves. You judge it by how do you say it?
The roots.
The roots. Today, the army did put arms in a pacific dialogue. It was a democratic process. You don't have to put any arms in it. You don't have to use violence. Once you use it, there is no return to democracy that easy. It's very simple. Today, it was a very pacific process. It was a democratic process. It takes a lot of time because 60 years of army oppression takes a lot of time to clean up. Once you use arms again, there will be dead people. Blood will always bring more blood. That's why today we are only seeing consequences of blood of blood in Egypt. That will always remain.
All right. Ashraf KHALIL, our correspondent earlier, saying it was unclear at this point who the Islamists are who've been arrested. Again, that's an important point to stress. We don't know who these hardliners are. Authorities claim, though, that the arrests include members of Jama Islamiyah, the hardline group that waged an armed insurgency in the 1990s and staged the 1981 assassination of Egypt's then president, Anwar Sadat. It's at this point unclear, again, who are the hardliners in this case. Let me, I guess, put this to you, Adel, RIAME. What are your thoughts on who these people are who are clashing with the army?
Well, I don't have any kind of special information. I just do like you. I go and try to find it over the net, over specialized reviews, magazines, try to see with other people. But actually, I would like just to return on what KHALIL just said, that it doesn't matter very much if the Islamic Brotherhood is banned on the short term or not. It does matter a lot. Why? Because banning them right now, at this point of time, is sending a strong message that we are already not accepting you as being part of the political environment of our country. And the country is not all about the army. You have the people. You have, of course, as an organization, very well rounded, very well structured, and a very popular one, which is the army. Yes. Is it all Egypt? No. Are the Muslim Brotherhood representing all Egypt? Not at all. So if you ban one of the parties straight ahead right now, if they are separate, they will unite around this decision. That will give them a common enemy to coagulate around it.
Mm. There's it's
and
not
even maybe draining other actors from Egypt or other countries.
Okay, there's other incidences though that we're seeing popping up, and again, this sort of climate of radicalization. There was another bomb scare. This time, authorities say that they found two makeshift bombs in the Cairo metro. There was an attempt on the life of the interior minister last week. And since the ouster of President Morsi, a lot of concern over increasingly brazen attacks on police and the army in the Sinai desert. The Sinai desert where there's, at one point even there were a whole busload of police officers who were gunned down in broad daylight. William Jordan, the focus on the Sinai desert has suddenly become really important. Why is that?
Oh, because of Israel and the Camp David Accords. Sinai, the continued peace in Sinai is critical to maintaining, if you will, the security architecture of the Camp David Accord. If that becomes unstable or a breeding ground for possibly new threats against Israel, then you've got a whole different crisis than one that's simply focused on Egypt.
Again, just to talk about what, sorry, I forgot his name. Banning an opposition group, firstly, is anti-democratic. Secondly, in Egypt, you only have two strong powers in Egypt. You have the army, very well organized since Nasser, and you have the Muslim Brotherhood. Today you have 1 million people directly linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. Then you have all the people who feels that the Muslim Brotherhood is has the right opinion in this country. So banning these people it's just like deleting their existence. That's what we saw during Nasser. That's what we saw during Sadat. That's what we saw during Mubarak. It has brought nothing more than anti-democratic process. We didn't see any party else than the national parties of Mubarak. So I don't think that banning a country, it's on the other side. If we do ban this group, they will feel like they aren't Egyptian anymore, because they can't participate. As he said, you won't participate in the new democratic process. What does it mean? That it means it's either our way or nothing. That's anti-democratic.
We have on Twitter a reaction from Peter. He says Egyptian authorities have the right to crack down against militants. The Muslim Brotherhood must stop inciting violence. And there have been cases that have been documented, especially against the Coptic Christian community.
I'm very scientific. If you do want to prove that I'm wrong, you have to bring me either material proof, or you bring me a logic, a reasonable logic. I don't believe that they do have incitation for violence. Why? Because most of the people who died either are Muslim Brotherhood or pro-Morsi or anti-coup people. That's the figures announced from the Egyptian minister. And you have soldiers and policemen. These people, they didn't die. Most of them, they didn't die during the demonstrations. They died either in Sinai, like 40 people lately, or during what they call war against terrorism.
All right, we're going to pick up on this point when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching the France 24 debate.